You're listening to Family Justice Files, stories about boundaries, quiet decisions, and what happens when someone finally says no. This story begins in Eugene, Oregon, on an ordinary weekday afternoon. My phone buzzed in my locker during my lunch break at the clinic. A text from my mom. "Don't panic, we found Bella a better home." I read it twice, then a third time. Bella was my dog, 6 years old, adopted after my divorce. She slept on my side of the bed and waited by the door every night until I came home from work. I typed back, "What do you mean you found her a home?" The dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "You're never around," she replied. "It's not fair to the dog." I called. No answer. I called my sister, straight to voicemail. I left work early. When I opened the front door, the house was quiet in a way that felt wrong. No nails on the floor, no leash by the hook. Her bowl was gone. That's when I realized this wasn't about the dog. Bella wasn't just a pet. She was the one thing in that house that didn't negotiate my place. After my divorce, when I moved back to Eugene to get back on my feet, Bella was the reason I kept a routine. Morning walks, evening feedings, a body curled against my legs when the nights felt too quiet. I worked long shifts at the clinic. Yes, but every paycheck covered her food, her vet visits, her license. Her chip was in my name. Her papers were in my folder. In my family, none of that mattered. What mattered was convenience. My mom used the same calm voice she always used when she'd already decided something. "She needs more attention than you can give. It's not fair to keep her cooped up." A nice family offered to help. Help, like I'd asked. When I walked through the house, it felt staged. Clean counters, no dog hair, no water ring on the floor. My dad sat at the table, scrolling his phone, and looked up like I was late to dinner. "Where did you take her?" I asked. He sighed, irritated. "Why are you making this dramatic?" My sister leaned against the doorway with her arms crossed. "You're never home. We talked about this." "No," I said. "You talked about this." She shrugged. "You don't own the house. She lives here." That sentence explained everything. In this family, ownership only counted when it belonged to them. My time was flexible. My space was shared. My things were conditional. And when they said it was for the best, it always meant for us. I asked for the address. My mom shook her head. "Don't make this ugly. She's happier now." Happier? Based on what? A yard? A story they told themselves? I went to my room and opened the desk drawer they'd never bothered to check. Adoption papers, vet receipts, microchip registration. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I gathered facts. As I drove to the vet, my phone lit up with messages. "You're overreacting. This is about what's best for the dog. Why can't you just trust us?" Because trust doesn't survive decisions made without consent. At the counter, the receptionist pulled up Bella's file and looked from the screen to me. "If she was rehomed without your permission," she said carefully, "that's not authorized." That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a pattern. They hadn't just taken my dog, they'd tested how much they could take and whether I'd stay quiet. I picked up the folder, asked for the address, and walked out knowing I wasn't going back to argue. I was going to prove. I didn't go back home to argue. I went to the places that keep records. At the vet's office, the smell of disinfectant and dog shampoo hit me before the receptionist even looked up. I said Bella's name and my last name. She typed for a moment, then turned the screen toward me. "Owner, me. Microchip. Registered to me. Primary contact, me." She glanced up and lowered her voice. "If someone rehomed her without your consent, that's not something we can approve." I nodded. "I just need to know where she is." She printed the file, stapled the pages, slid them across the counter like this was an ordinary errand, not the center of my life cracking open. On the last page was the address my mom had given them, written in neat handwriting. I sat in my car for a minute before starting the engine. The rain had started again, light but steady, tapping against the windshield like it was counting time. I watched a woman across the street tie her dog's leash, laugh, and walk away without thinking twice. That ordinary moment settled something in me. This didn't have to be loud to be right. The dashboard clock blinked 3:42 p.m. outside. The street was busy with people running errands, walking dogs, living normal afternoons. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was focused. On the drive, my phone kept lighting up. I didn't answer. I let the messages stack. "You're making this bigger than it is. They're good people. You don't have to do this." "Do what?" "Take back what was mine." At a red light, I pulled the adoption folder from my bag and flipped it open again. My signature, the date, the shelter's stamp. I remembered that day clearly, Bella trembling at the leash, then leaning into my leg like she'd decided I was it. No one in my family was there that day. No one helped. No one questioned whether I was ready. They only had opinions now that it inconvenienced them. The address led me to a quiet neighborhood on the edge of town. Single-story houses, trim lawns, kids' bikes leaned against fences. I parked across the street and sat there, hands on the steering wheel, breathing slowly. I wasn't here to make a scene. I was here to be accurate. I walked up the driveway and knocked. A woman opened the door, smiling politely. Bella's bark came from somewhere inside, sharp and confused. My chest tightened. "I'm sorry," I said calmly. "I'm looking for my dog. Her name is Bella." The woman hesitated. "Oh, we were told she needed a new home." "I understand," I said, "but she wasn't theirs to give." I handed her the papers. She scanned the first page, then the second. Her smile faded into something closer to concern. "I didn't know," she said. "They said the family had agreed." "They didn't," I replied. "I didn't." Bella appeared in the hallway then, nails clicking on the floor. When she saw me, she froze. Then she ran straight toward the door, tail whipping, whining in that high, frantic way she only used when she thought she was being left behind. I knelt without thinking. She crashed into me, paws on my chest, breath fast and uneven. I pressed my forehead to hers and stayed there until her shaking slowed. The woman watched us quietly. "I'm really sorry," she said again. "If I had known—" "I know," I said. "I'm not here to blame you." She nodded and stepped aside. "Give me a minute to get her things." I waited on the porch. No raised voices, no explanations to the neighbors peeking through curtains, just the sound of a leash clipping into place. When Bella jumped into the passenger seat, she curled up like she'd been holding herself together all afternoon. I closed the door gently and sat behind the wheel for a second, hands resting in my lap. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clear. On the drive away, I finally looked at my phone. Dozens of messages, missed calls, long explanations that all sounded the same. "You embarrassed us." "You could have talked to us first." "This wasn't necessary." I sent one message back. "You made a decision about my life without asking. I corrected it. This is not a discussion." I put the phone face down and kept driving, knowing the hardest part wasn't taking Bella back. It was deciding what I was walking away from next. I didn't go straight home. I drove to the clinic first and took the rest of the day off. Bella stayed curled under my desk while I filled out the last form the vet asked for, an official note stating she had been removed and rehomed without the owner's consent. One sentence, black ink, a date and signature. Paper has weight when it's correct. Before leaving, I asked one more question. If someone tries to rehome her again without my permission? The vet didn't hesitate. Then you document it, and you call it what it is. I nodded. That was enough. By the time I pulled back into my parents' driveway, the sun was low and the house lights were already on. I could hear voices through the front window, tight, sharp, already spinning a version of the story where I was the problem. I walked in carrying Bella's leash and the folder. My mom stood up immediately. "What did you do?" "I brought her home," I said. My sister laughed, short and sharp. "You went behind our backs." I set the folder on the table and opened it page by page, the way you do when you want facts to speak before emotions. "No," I said evenly. "You went behind mine." My dad leaned forward, jaw tight. "You embarrassed us. Do you have any idea how that made us look?" "At whose house?" I asked. "At whose expense?" No one answered. I slid the vet's note across the table last. "This states she was rehomed without my consent. If this happens again, it's no longer a family disagreement. It's theft." My mom's face shifted. Not anger, not sadness. Fear. "You wouldn't actually do that," she said. "You wouldn't involve anyone else." I met her eyes. "I already did, quietly." My sister pushed her chair back. "You're acting like we abused you. It was just a dog." "That's the problem," I said. "You thought that sentence would work on me." The clock on the wall ticked loudly. No one spoke. Then my dad said the line I'd heard my entire life. "This is our house." I nodded slowly. "And that's exactly why this keeps happening." I stood and clipped Bella's leash back on. She leaned into my leg, calm now, steady. "I'll be moving out by the end of the week," I said. "I've already updated my address with the clinic, the license office, and my bank. Do not make decisions for me again. Do not use my things. Do not speak for me." My mom's voice cracked. "You're tearing this family apart." I looked at her, not angry, not shaking, just finished. "No, I stopped holding it together for you," my sister scoffed. "So you're just leaving? After everything we've done for you?" I paused at the door. You don't get credit for help that comes with control. I didn't slam the door. I didn't raise my voice. Outside, the air was cool and steady. Bella jumped into the car like she knew this wasn't temporary. As I drove away, my phone buzzed once. A message from my sister. "You didn't have to do it like this." I didn't reply. Because this wasn't drama, it was enforcement. And for the first time, they could feel the difference. I didn't move out all at once. I packed a little each night. Clothes first, then books, then the things I'd learned to keep in drawers because they were mine in a house that never fully was. Bella followed me room to room, watching carefully, like she understood this was a transition, not a crisis. On the third night, my mom knocked on my door. "Can we talk?" she asked. I opened it, but didn't step aside. "We're talking now." She looked past me at the half-empty room, the bare walls, the missing lamp. "You're really doing this?" "Yes." She pressed her lips together. "You're acting like we betrayed you." I didn't rush to soften it. "You took my dog and decided it was for the best. That's not confusion. That's a choice." She sighed and shifted her weight. "We were trying to help." "No," I said calmly. "You were trying to manage me." Her eyes filled. "You've always been sensitive." I nodded once. "And you've always used that word when I noticed something was wrong." Down the hall, my sister appeared, arms crossed, leaning against the wall like she was waiting for her turn. "So what now?" she asked. "You cut us off?" "I didn't say that," I replied. "I said you don't get access without consent." She scoffed. "You're really going to make rules?" "I already did." She stepped forward. "You're punishing us." I met her gaze. "No, I'm protecting myself." There was a long pause. The house felt hollow, like it was already adjusting to my absence. No one apologized. No one explained. And for the first time, I didn't wait for either. The silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It was informative. My dad cleared his throat from the living room. "You're overcomplicating this," he said. "Families don't run on paperwork." "Neither do boundaries," I answered. "They run on respect." I picked up the last box by my feet. Bella sat waiting, leash clipped, patient. My mom's voice softened. "If something happens, you'd still answer, right?" I considered it. "If you call to talk, yes. If you call to decide for me, no." She nodded slowly, like she was learning a new language she didn't like. When I carried the box to my car, no one followed me. No shouting, no apologies wrapped in conditions. Just the sound of the front door closing behind me, gentle and final. At my new place, a small apartment across town, I set the box down and sat on the floor. Bella curled into my lap and let out a long breath, the kind dogs make when they finally believe you. I rested my forehead against hers and whispered, "We're okay." For the first time in a long while, I meant it. This wasn't freedom with fireworks, it was quieter than that. It was the relief of no longer waiting for permission. Life didn't reset overnight. It softened. Mornings became quieter. No tension in the hallway. No need to explain why I was tired or late. Bella learned the new route around the block, stopping at the same maple tree every morning like it was hers now. I learned how much energy I'd been spending bracing for reactions that never came. My parents called once a week at first. Careful, polite, testing the edges. Sometimes I answered. Sometimes I didn't. When I did, I kept it simple. No updates they could manage. No problems they could solve for me. No openings they could step through. Over time, the calls spaced out. The tone changed. Not warmer, just real. My sister tried once more. A long message. A lot of emotion. Very little responsibility. I didn't respond. That was the moment I understood something clearly. Closure doesn't require agreement. It only requires a decision you're willing to stand behind. I still loved my family. That part didn't disappear. But love without access feels different, safer, cleaner. One quiet Sunday morning, I sat at my kitchen table with coffee cooling beside me, Bella asleep at my feet, and I realized something I wish someone had told me years ago. For a long time, I thought keeping the peace meant explaining myself better, softer, kinder, over and over again. What I learned is that peace doesn't come from explaining. It comes from deciding where consent ends. When I went to the vet, filled out that form and took Bella back, I wasn't being dramatic. I was being accurate. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was protecting what was mine. And here's the part no one likes to admit. Accountability only feels cruel to people who were comfortable benefiting from your silence. The moment you stop arguing and start documenting, things become very clear. I also learned that self-respect doesn't sound the way I thought it would. It isn't a speech. It isn't a fight. It's consistency. It's doing the same thing tomorrow that you did today, even when no one claps for it. I didn't stop loving my family. I just stopped letting love mean unlimited access. If you're listening to this and wondering whether you're allowed to draw a line without asking permission, you are. Some families don't change until access changes. And some people don't realize they're allowed to say no until the moment they finally do. I stand up, clip Bella's leash on, and open the door to a calm afternoon, the kind that doesn't require permission. And that's how I know I did the right thing. If this story resonated with you, you're not alone. This is Family Justice Files. If these stories matter to you, like the video and subscribe for more.